final live draft of the offseason. Welcome into Fantasy Baseball today. You are listening to this on Tuesday, March 24th. I am Frank Stampfl, joined by Scott White and the returning Chris Towers. Welcome back, Chris. Happy to have you.
Thanks. Good to be back. I was dealing with some family stuff. I was down in Puerto Rico for family stuff. It was weird. Didn't love leaving during the most important time of the year. Caused me a lot of anxiety, so I'm glad to be back for the last 2 days before the season starts, I guess. Do you guys have any drafts after this one?
No, this is my last one.
One more.
I got my like biggest home league draft tomorrow, so I'm down to my final two.
Can you believe that we are like 2 days from now we'll be watching baseball right now at this time? It's pretty crazy.
Yeah. It's been both a really long and really short off season, I feel like. And I can't quite explain it, but it felt like it took forever. And it's also like, wait, opening day's 2 days from now? Really?
It's crazy stuff, man. Today on the show, it's our 12-team head-to-head points listener league draft. And I rigged the system, of course. I wound up with the first pick here. I did randomize it for those wondering, but I'm happy to get my only share of Aaron Judge in my last draft of the year, so that's cool. Chris is drafting 8th. Scott is 11th. Shout out to last year's champion listener Joshua Butler, who took everybody else down. So congrats again on winning the league. Once again, we've talked about this all off season, but head-to-head points, shallower format, standard head-to-head lineups on CBS, one catcher, one of each infield position, 3 outfielders, 1 utility spot, no corner, no middle. And then on the pitching side, we have 5 starting pitchers and 2 relief pitchers. You can throw some sparps in there as a little cheat code for your relievers. But I think that's about everything, and we can fire this thing up. I will start us up, and let's get this thing going. And I will make the first pick. Aaron Judge! Finally got him.
There you go.
You cheated.
Congratulations.
You
know
cheated.
What? I randomized both listener leagues, and I got second pick in one and first pick in the other. Oh, man.
I'm sure the people who play in just 1 or 2 CBS leagues would never think anything of it, but as somebody who sets up like dozens of drafts every draft prep season, I question just how random the randomizer is. I do. It seems to kind of put the same people in the same spots all the time.
You just gotta hit it multiple times, you know? That's what I've done for randomize the randomizers.
Here we are, the top 5 picks in this one. Aaron Judge, Juan Soto, Shohei Ohtani, Jose Ramirez, Kyle Tucker, Tarek Skubal. And, I mean, Soto ahead of Ohtani. I know Soto is better in a points league than he is in a roto league. But I don't think I would take him ahead of Ohtani. It's defensible. It's not crazy.
It's definitely defensible. Yeah. Especially when you consider how small the lineups are. It's even harder to justify filling that utility spot early. I was going to see if I could pull up points per game real quick to see how close they were last year. It
was pretty close. Ohtani had 20 points more in 2 fewer games.
And Chris, you get a welcome back gift. How about that?
Yeah, I will take... I was thinking about going with one of the pitchers if Ronald Acuna had gone off the board, but with Ronald Acuna here, like, I think Ronald Acuna is maybe slightly underrated in a points format because he walks a ton. Like, I think his walk rate last year was like 14% or something. Now, the strikeout rate has never quite gone, 2023 he had 817 points in CBS scoring in 2023. That is a bonkers number. I don't think Aaron Judge has Aaron Judge ever had a season that good? No, he hasn't.
Don't know. Acuna, by the way, it was a 17% walk rate last year, 417 OBP.
Yeah, he's really good in an OBP or points league. He's really good in all formats.
That 140 homer 70 steal season, the underrated part of it was how much lower his strikeout rate was than usual. So that added to the how far ahead he was of the pack in points leagues.
Yeah, I wonder when the last time someone had more points than him. I would guess
Lindor at 9. Francisco Lindor at 9.
I don't know if that's just a Mets fan, a relative, whatever it might be. It's higher than we're used to. I think before the hamate bone injury, he would have gone somewhere in this range, probably more like, the 12 to 16 range, early second round pick. But it wouldn't have been crazy to see him go at 9. And if you just think he's fully healthy again, He's been back playing. I still think probably going to take some time to shake off some rust there with Lindor, and he does sometimes get off to slow starts. So I think we kind of baked that in with him at this point. Paul Skeens was the next pick, and Scott, you are up at 11.
I don't like this, Frank. I don't like my choices here.
Okay, so here's the question. Are you at all concerned about Garrett Crochet's weird spring?
I am maybe 3 to 4% concerned.
Okay.
But that is not why I'm not choosing him here. I'm not choosing him here because I think it's less important to invest in high-end pitching in CBS Sports points format. It's a very forgiving format for pitching. So I'm going to take Kyle Schwarber. I'm going to fill my utility spot in round 1. Schwarber is my 7th ranked player in this format. He averaged 3.84 points per game last year. That was actually more than Jose Ramirez. And he's my first round pick. Junior Caminero rounds out the first round. That's probably who I would have gone with.
Caminero.
Sorry I cut you off there, Scott, but if I just hear any kind of pause after hearing the name Caminero, I'm just going to play it.
Well, in fairness, he cut himself off. You can't complain, right?
Yeah, that's true, by singing. Caminero is who I would have gone with if I didn't go with Schwarber, just playing the position scarcity game, extreme position scarcity game. Now, what's interesting is I didn't expect this at all. Crochet is still available to me in round 2.
Yeah, we had a different starting pitcher go with the first pick of the second.
Brian Wu.
Woo!
Brian.
Woo! I got to do it. I got to take Crochet.
I mean, that is a gift, man.
Yeah, I mean, I am definitely team don't pass up gifts in drafts. So I'll take Crochet. My plan there, I can go ahead and say it because I know he's not going to make it back to me. I was talking this through with Frank yesterday. I figured I'd get Schwarber in round 1 because I don't think anybody ranks him as high as I do, even in this format. I was planning to pair him with Ketel Marte in round 2. And just
get second base out of the way.
Yeah, get second base. And I was debating Caminero and Marte, get the 2 weakest positions out of the way in this very small lineup league where I think it's especially important to get maximum impact from every spot. Because there are with so few hitter spots, you can't afford to dilute the production anywhere the same way you can in a road up lineup with all those spots, all those lineup spots to distribute the production. But Garrett Crochet was a gift. I took the gift, and then Julio Rodriguez goes right afterward at pick 50.
Yes.
Do you have any concerns, Chris, about Crochet?
Yeah, so that I guess I wanted to bring that up. His velocity was down a little bit in his most recent start. I think it's been down just kind of across the board this spring. He had 30 strikeouts in 15 2/3 innings last spring. He had 8 and 14 2/3 this time around. I don't think it means anything, really.
He said his pitch selection would be different if it was the regular season.
Yeah, he has talked about not feeling good about his fastball in particular. That has been the thing that Garrett Crochet has seemingly been struggling with is I don't know if it's the feel or the shape, but he just has not been happy with where his fastball's been at this spring, and obviously that's a big pitch for him. Although last year, his first year with the Red Sox, he was way less fastball dependent than his previous year. I think he will be fine. And if he had been there when I was picking my second time around, I certainly would have taken him. I thought about taking him or Paul Skeens with my first pick, but I ended up passing. I go double outfielder to open up my draft, which I don't love just because there will be many times when the best player available will be an outfielder, and then I have to decide how early do I actually want to fill my
Fernando
outfield.
Tatis, that was the one you took?
Yeah, I took Fernando Tatis.
So it was after I took Crochet, it was Julio Rodriguez 15th overall, then Ketel Marte 16th. So 2 picks after I was thinking about it. Then Chris took Fernando Tatis 17th, followed by Vladimir Guerrero and Cal Raleigh at 19. And Ellie De La Cruz at 20. So the picks are flying off the board now.
Flying off the board. We do see some names like Ellie slip a little bit lower in a head-to-head points league just because, Roto's is better format, the steals that he provides, and plate discipline, while improving, still isn't as good as some other hitters here in this specific format. Same thing with Julio. He's typically a first-round pick in a categories league. Dropped down to 15th in this one. After Ellie, we got Gunnar Henderson, Corbin Carroll. I am on deck, so I have to start thinking about what I want to do here. Corbin Carroll in a points league.
Great value.
That feels pretty awesome, man.
Yeah, I mean, he outscored Fernando Tatis in this format. I was debating those two. It was Ketel Marte, Corbin Carroll, or Fernando Tatis for me. Marte goes a pick before me, so it's between Corbin Carroll and Fernando Tatis. Carroll looks like he's going to be ready for opening day, but it's I'm just a little less willing to take the chance. You know, why take on any amount of risk when the difference between Corbin Carroll and Fernando Tatis was, I think it was like 15 or 20 points last season, which is not nothing, but it's not a huge amount either.
All right, the next pick was Yoshinobu Yamamoto. I am on the clock. I know one of my picks. I am debating the other one. Do I want to take a pitcher and hope that there is just a huge run between now and my next pick?
Early round 3, I don't enjoy that spot. I feel like whoever I take there, I'm reaching for him.
Yeah, I agree, especially in a points league, because like in a roto, you'd feel good about Jackson Chourio or Jazz Chisholm. In a points league, even Nick Kurtz, you know, it's just a little, it's a little iffy. You know?
So I did wind up grabbing Trey Turner and Jazz Chisholm here on the turn. So let's go Yankees, I guess. Jazz I could throw at second or third.
Not hard for you to say.
Yes. Yeah, I was debating taking Christopher Sanchez there. Wound up going with all the hitters, and we'll see if I regret it later on. But you know, Jazz, this isn't his better format, but to get either a second or third baseman and just kind of lock that in for later on, it's a pretty good feeling. So
speaking of reaching, I don't know if you guys saw, apparently Christopher Sanchez grew 5 inches in the last year.
What is going on? All these height differences are coming out now. I heard with the hitters that they have to be really strict with the height measurements now because of ABS. Like
yes, they're doing that with everyone. I think everyone has to get measured, and it's fascinating the way they're doing it because apparently your height fluctuates throughout the day, and so they've had to standardize the time of day that they measure everyone and do it consistently, because you'll be taller in the morning, I guess. And so I think everyone is between like 11 and 12 a.m., 11 a.m. and 12 p.m.
They're like half an inch.
I don't think it's like a huge difference, but I guess, I don't know, gravity pulls you down. I don't know. You feel wary at the end of the day.
So
that makes sense.
Was the last time they measured Christopher Sanchez just like when he was 18 years old or something? Or?
When he was 18 years old at like midnight.
Yeah, they must have. He must not have. I mean, he probably hasn't pitched in the minors in 4 years since the ABS. So I guess, I don't know.
For those who don't know, there were screenshots of the updated heights for Christopher Sanchez. His previous one was 6'1". He's now 6'6".
He didn't look 6'1".
No, he's a pretty big, lanky dude.
Pretty
there,
big dude, yeah.
Sanchez. And he just went 30th overall in this one, catching people up. I started the third round with Jazz Chisholm, then Manny Machado, Nick Kurtz, Logan Gilbert, Yordan Alvarez, Sanchez, Max Fried, and Chris, you are up.
I kept going back and forth between all 3 of our rankings, just hoping one of us didn't have Pete Alonso ranked at the top, because that's who is my top player.
I don't have him ranked at the top.
I thought you did. Oh, you have Chourio. I can't get a third outfielder either. So
3 picks, 3 outfielders, Chris. Go for it.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't love it.
This is a little bit further than we usually see Pete Alonso go.
Yeah, no, the value's fine. It's just I don't know that he's that much better than the other first basemen who are going to go off the board. The problem is
he was last year for what it's worth, but I would put him in the same tier as Olsen and Harper and Devers and even Freeman.
And a bunch of my top ranked players coming up are either first baseman or outfielders, so that's it. I don't love the way this is shaking out so far.
But we might see a bunch of those first basemen go right now, Chris. So it might work out for you.
I hope so. I hope I've started a run. I did, since we're probably going to see him get drafted earlier, and I don't know if we've talked about James Wood much this spring in terms of just what he's done this spring. We've talked a lot about him, what he did in the second half of last season. He struck out 34% of the time this spring.
Ugh.
And he struck out 39% of the time in the second half last season.
They should have
only
hit
hit one home run.
like they did Dylan Cruz.
I mean, that's one that, like, my initial reaction was like, wow, that's shocking. I think he hit 103 this spring. And he's been pretty bad so far in his major league career, and he wasn't great in the minors either. It's like, I mean, give him a reason to not send you down. He didn't, you know?
Right. Yep. After Pete Alonso went, we got Matt Olson and Jackson Churio, to the dismay of Scott. We heard a scoff.
Yeah. Not loving this. That was going to be an easy pick. I like easy picks.
Yeah, Churio.
No easy picks for Scott.
No easy picks for me.
Or as that team is named, no play for Mr. Gray.
I don't know.
We did get a bunch of news today, by the way, so we'll sprinkle that in whenever those players get drafted. We're also going to do an FBT Express after this. That will be published, in the morning. So we'll talk more about like Strider and some of the other news items on there. So be sure to check that episode out. Scott, you selected Chris Sale, the man who loves to wait on pitching, has 2 pitchers in his first 3 picks.
Part of the reason I didn't want to, or part of the reason I did want to take Ketel Marte in round 2 is to prevent myself from taking Bryce Terang in this draft. I don't think it's his better format, and I just have too much of him. I didn't want to do that again. And I would have taken Bryce Terang there if I didn't take Chris Sale, because it didn't make sense to take a first baseman yet. But now it does. So Byron Buxton and Rafael Devers, another of those first baseman, comes off the board with the next 2 picks. So I have my choice between Freeman and Harper. You know what? I might throw a curveball, though. You know what? I am going to throw a curveball. I'm going to go Perdomo.
Oh!
I'm going to go Perdomo.
Okay.
All right. I mean, he's one of your guys. Non-zero, he would have made it back to you, though, Scott, at like 59.
Perdomo?
Not a guarantee.
With people who listen to the podcast, I don't think he would have, yeah.
Not in a points league.
Fair enough. All right, so you got your guy, Perdomo.
Yeah. I got 2 pitchers. I got 2 hitters. One's a utility player. One's a shortstop. So this is perfect. Just how I like to do it in a head-to-head points league.
I was going to say, this sounds
Position
exactly like
scarcity
how you usually play it.
Is pointless. Starting pitcher.
You've always said it.
I've always said it. In points leagues, you got to get those aces right. It's not forgiving at all, this format for pitching. I hate it already.
I think the other part of it, though, you are a Braves fan, and they have 1 pitcher. So
Sale. Yeah.
So you got the one Braves pitcher.
Listen,
that's not true. Reynaldo Lopez was hitting like 89 miles an hour, which would be really impressive if he was me.
You don't sleep on Grant Holmes, sir.
Yeah, I think he'll be pretty good for a couple of starts, probably.
I thought we were about to get "Don't sleep on Jose Suarez" from Scott. That would have been great.
Yeah.
Jose Suarez.
Yeah, we didn't. I don't think we did. We mention? Did you guys talk about it on last night? I don't think the news had come out last night. Spencer Strider opening the season on the IL with an oblique injury.
Yes. The hope is that he'll only miss a couple of weeks, but obliques could be tricky. And Jose Suarez is expected to fill in as the SP5, not Didier Fuentes, although we're all very excited about him. He will remain in a relief role for the time being. So.
Yeah, and it sounds like they still plan to send him back down to AAA after a couple of weeks. He only threw 70 innings last season, I think.
Yeah.
We did see them push Spencer Schwellenbach to like 165 innings after he only threw about 70 the year before, but I would guess they don't want to do that again, given the way his elbow exploded after that. So, yeah.
All right, after Scott selected Geraldo Perdomo, we got Pete Crow Armstrong, Michael Garcia at 40. All right, Listener League draft. They're snatching up some of the guys that we like here a little bit earlier than usual. Chris, you selected Hunter Brown. Then we did get Bryce Terang, Bryce Harper, George Kirby, and Freddie Freeman. So those first basemen are coming off the board. I feel like, Chris, normally all three of us are not really Hunter Brown guys, but that feels like a good spot to get him in.
Yeah, I think this is the first time I've drafted Hunter Brown. The problem is my next 5 highest ranked players are all outfielders or William Contreras. And the thing I've struggled with every time we've done a head-to-head points league this year is if I invest at catcher, I always hate it. Even if, like, I think William Contreras is amazing. I think Ben Rice is awesome. I think Hunter Goodman and Shea Langeliers, these are great players. But every time I'm the one to take them, and then Drake Baldwin falls to 120 or whatever, or, Carter Jensen goes undrafted, it just feels dumb to end up taking a catcher. Even though I do have William Contreras ranked like probably 15 spots ahead of where we already are in the draft.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I feel like the only catcher in a 1-catcher league, 12 teams, as many redundancies that are actually good as are available there. It has to be an extreme discount for me to take a catcher. I mean, like 4 or 5 rounds beyond where in theory he should go. With the exception of Cal Raleigh, I've made an exception for Raleigh because it is so important in those smaller lineup leagues to give yourself clear advantages at positions, and there is no bigger advantage than that. So I've been fine taking Cal Raleigh in round 2 in a 1-catcher league. But otherwise, definitely don't want to take anyone else at face value. And because, worst case scenario, you take a catcher with your last pick, and it's somebody like Samuel Basayo or Carter Jensen who could end up being huge. And even if they flop, you could fall back on a Gabriel Moreno or Francisco Alvarez. There's just so many redundancies there.
Man, that was such a tough turn. There's so many players that I wanted to take. That was so rough. So the past couple of picks, there was Freddie Freeman, Logan Webb, Wyatt Langford, and then I was up at the end of round 4. I selected Jacob deGrom and Roman Anthony. Wanted to get at least one pitcher here. Thought about going 2 and just doubling down, going like deGrom and Framber Valdez, just get my SP1, SP2 out of the way. But was debating Josh Naylor. I think he's a really good pick here. Kind of the FOMO. I wanted another share of Roman Anthony, and I think this will be his better format in a points league. So that was part of the calculation there. But yeah, it was between Anthony, Naylor, and Framber Valdez there. I wound up going with Roman Anthony.
That's a fun one. I'm never gonna be opposed to ending up with Roman Anthony. Especially points could be his better format. He might just be great in both, but I think the skill set is right now tilted a little more towards head-to-head points. So it's fun to get a guy like that on one of your teams. I don't know if you had him on any teams before this.
I have him on one draft hold that I've done so far.
It doesn't really.
Yeah.
I mean, it counts, but
Yeah.
you're not living and dying with that every week.
Right. After I selected Roman Anthony, we got Cole Reagans. Then Mookie Betts. Mookie Betts at 51 in a points league feels really good.
That's
Same with Cody Bellinger. His strikeout rate was so low last year. Then we get Ben Rice, Brent Rooker. It's sharp last couple picks here. I think this is a really good range to snatch up a bunch of hitters and all the ones that should be going here. So pretty good.
Really, really hating William Contreras just sitting there 20 picks after where I have him ranked. But again,
take him, Chris. Do it.
Don't want to be the one.
Do it.
But then
forget what we were just talking about. Just take the catcher. It's such a good catcher for number 1, 2 years in a row.
I know.
23 and 24.
He's a very good player.
Can you tell that Scott wants you to take a catcher, Chris?
It sounds like it. By the way, I just have the game on in the background. Roki Sasaki did not make it out of the first inning against the Angels in his final tune-up start. Boy, I don't think that's going to work.
I mean, we've been pretty steadfast with that all along. He did look better as a reliever last year. He's still young enough where you don't want to just limit that to what he has to be at this point. But man, it just really has not worked as a starter so far for Roki Sasaki. After Brent Rooker, we got Jesus Luzardo, Kyle Bradish, Framber Valdez. So those starting pitchers starting to come off the board. Scott is on deck. And Chris, you selected Bradish. That is your SP2, I believe.
That's my SP2. Go along with Hunter Brown. Hunter Brown, a little more of a more traditional head-to-head points guy. He'll go deep into games. Bradish, I just swinging for upside. You know, there's a ceiling on the innings probably. I would guess around 165, 170 at the most, but that's probably not that much different from most of the pitchers who are going to go after him. There's one notable exception who will throw a lot more innings than that. That's Framber Valdez, although did he go?
He just went right after
he
you.
just went.
I guess.
Yeah, I was surprised he didn't go Fromber over.
I just kind of, Framber's boring. Kyle Bradish is fun, you know?
This is the format for boring pitchers, Chris.
Yeah, I know.
Especially Framber. He's so many innings per start. I guess one thing with Bradish, too, from a points league perspective is it does sound like they will have a 6-man rotation at some point. Earlier in the season, the way the schedule is set up, they didn't need Dayton Kramer because they would rather have an extra reliever in the bullpen for now. So it sounds like eventually he'll be back up as a part of a 6-man rotation. So that could limit 2 start weeks later on this year for Kyle Bradish and everyone else in that rotation. After Framber Valdez, Freddie Peralta, George Springer went to Scott. Jeremy Pena at 60. He did go through a workout today. Has not been ruled out for opening day. It kind of seems like it's trending in the right direction there for Pena, but that still seems early for Jeremy Pena. Scott, you selected George Springer. How do you feel?
I did. Well, it was a little weird with James Wood still there. That is not how I rank them. But I've been encouraged just reading up on George Springer this spring and the way he's performed this spring. I've come to buy more and more into the bounce back season he had, and his point per game average last year, guy who doesn't strike out much, 3.75. I mean, that was like some first rounders. That was quite a bit better than Julio Rodriguez and Fernando Tatis last year. So as somebody who unfortunately had to go pitching early, I thought it made sense to gamble on Springer. Look, James Wood is still there because we get Jeremy Pena and Jackson Merrill. But again, I'm going to pass up James Wood.
Oh, man.
The gambit paid off. Is it a gambit or a gamble? What is a gambit exactly? Anyway,
I think he has the throwing cards.
He's the character in X-Men.
And like he has a staff, right? That's
Josh Naylor is my first baseman. So I'd hoped this would happen when I passed up the choice between Bryce Harper and Freddie Freeman in the previous round.
Yeah.
I had a feeling Josh Naylor would make it back to me at the 5-6 turn. And then you brought him up at the 4-5 turn, Frank, as somebody you considered taking there. And I was holding my breath the rest of that round 5.
It worked out.
It did work out. Josh Naylor I have in the same tier as Freddie Freeman and Bryce Harper and those others. He actually averaged the most points per game of them last year. Actually averaged more points per game than Pete Alonso. Had all those stolen bases, and we can't be sure he's going to repeat those, but he's a low strikeout hitter. Who gets a lot of extra base hits that aren't rewarded in Roto. So I think he is a true standout on points leagues, and I'm glad I got him. The reason I didn't take Naylor in round 5 is because I knew the one guy following me at pick 12 there already had Rafael Devers. So I still held my breath a little that he didn't take Naylor for his utility spot, but fortunately he did.
All right, we're getting back-to-back first baseman, Vinny P.
Baby.
Vinny Pasquantino, who actually has seen his ADP and his costs rise here after a strong WBC. Although it was really just like a 3-home run game. I don't know what else he did besides that, but obviously that was an awesome game. And we're all expecting big things from Vinny P. Next pick is Joe Ryan. And Chris, we are back to you. You have 3 hitters, 2 pitchers to start things off.
Well, it's back to me. Fine, I'll do it.
James
Thanks
Wood?
for letting him fall.
Oh, no, William Contreras.
Contreras. It just...
Couldn't resist.
65th overall. I mean...
James Wood is radioactive.
Yeah.
I mean, this is his worst format. And there's big red flags there. I get it. I don't know. It seems like earlier on in the draft process, people were really focused on the upside with James Wood still. And now it seems like there's a lot more focus on how things can go wrong. And I do worry that we're just kind of overthinking it. And it's like, just bet on the 23-year-old uber talented athletic freak.
And he just went pick 66.
Yeah, I mean, it's a huge fall, obviously, but I reasoned through based on format, passing him over, because if we're worried he's going to be worse than last year, and given that the strikeout issues that popped up in the second half have continued into spring training, I think that's my concern. He's going to be worse than last year. He was very good last year. He's going to be worse. Last year, he averaged 2.97 points per game, James Wood. And I was just talking about Josh Naylor, 3.35. George Springer, 3.75. I mean, obviously, those were standouts. They performed well beyond what they normally do to put up those numbers, but 2.97 for James Wood, with a fear he'll be worse. I mean, 2.97 and feeling confident he can reach that number is fine in round 5, round 6. But not being confident he's going to reach that number, I felt okay passing him up. There is, of course, a world, given his upside, given what he showed in the first half last year, where he exceeds that number. Absolutely. I just don't think that's a particularly high percentage outcome for him right now.
After William Contreras and James Wood, we got Corey Seager, Jarren Duran, and Christian Yelich. Christian Yelich went to the Robo Scots. Love the team name. And look, Yelich in other drafts usually goes a lot later. So nice to see him go in a appropriate range, I would say, in this specific format in head-to-head points league. And then the player I really wanted here was Dylan Cease, and he just went. So yay. Kind of wish I went Christopher Sanchez or 2 pitchers at the last turn.
These people want to see me tilt. They should have let Yelich fall a couple more rounds, because I have Schwarber plugged in there,
Right.
But I'm glad they didn't.
Man, starting pitcher is a little weird right now. I usually like to have 2 by this point. So we'll see. Perhaps we pivot. See what we want to do. I know one of the picks. Just biding my time to figure out what I'll do with the other.
I want to listen to you suffer here. This is good.
Yep. I'm sure everyone is loving that. I wish I went 2 pitchers last time, man. Just don't like it was a gamble that one of Dylan Cease or one of those other my top 20 starting pitchers would make it back, and they did not.
Pavetta's not top 20. Yuri's not top 20.
No, he doesn't like Yuri. He is
not a Yuri guy.
The world's biggest Yuri denier.
And gosh, no one's excited to draft Nick Pivetta, man.
No, I keep getting him because nobody's excited to draft him. So I'm all about the players nobody's excited to draft.
And I feel like this is Yuri Perez's worst format in a points league, because I just don't think it's going to give you much volume per start either. I did take Austin Riley with one of the picks, so
I like that one. I assume we've talked about the stolen base stuff with him.
Yes, we have.
All right,
but he's gotten a couple of steals this spring, I believe, and
gosh, it's so boring.
Yep.
That was.
I mean, we may be underestimating the steals potential of Ozzie Albies and Michael Harris too.
Yeah.
But
I think a 30 steal season is within the realm of possibility for Harris, certainly.
I have observed. I think I brought it up when they changed the stolen base rules, and we were speculating what kind of crazy players could wind up stealing bases. It turns out it was like Juan Soto and Josh Naylor and Freddie Freeman a couple years ago, right? But one of the names I did bring up at that time was Austin Riley, because I noticed how high his sprint speed was, even though he's not any kind of base stealer. So in a way, I get what they're saying about Antoine Richardson. That's his name, right? The first base coach. The impact he could have on Austin Riley specifically, having him potentially be a 15 to 20 steal guy. And that would help a lot.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep. So I did select Nick Pivetta, and oh gosh, it just felt so gross. After he went Nolan McLean and Nico Horner. Oh gosh. It was either Sanchez round 3 or it had to be DeGrom and Framber together at the previous turn. Oh man. We'll see how it comes together. But
there goes Yuri.
Don't love that. Do not love it.
Yuri Perez. I want to see how many innings he actually got. 118 innings.
Yeah, okay, 120-ish, yeah.
Yeah. I could see him getting to 170.
Yeah, I think 170 is probably the ceiling, but I don't think we're going to see Yuri Perez like throttled off or anything. I don't think that's going to happen. I think they'll just probably let him go, and he'll average something less than 6 innings per start over 30 starts. And
it's few pitchers who average more than 6 innings per start.
Like, I think the Kyle Bradish, Yuri Perez workload should be pretty similar. It's just I feel a little more confident Bradish is going to be very good right now than Yuri.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Yuri is still projection, and obviously he's super young and could make the leap into acedom this year. I totally recognize that as a possibility. Again,
he's on my breakouts list. I'd take him in round 7 if I needed pitching.
I'm expecting, again, more like 5 innings per start, probably, 150 to 160 is what I would expect this season from him.
So I'm a little surprised you didn't consider the guy who just went, if you want to read off the next few picks.
So after Yuri Perez, Tyler Soderstrom, Kevin Gausman, Alex Bregman, and Eugenio Suarez.
To Chris taking Suarez, filling that third base need.
Well, I figured, Scott, knowing how much you care about positional scarcity, I figured you were eyeing one of those third basemen. I know you don't love Alex Bregman, but Suarez or Bregman, I feel like we're probably on your list, right?
Yeah. No, I would consider them at this turn. Frank, I was surprised you didn't consider Gausman when you were debating which pitcher to take. If you don't like Pivetta.
He's similar to Pivetta, but I rank Pivetta higher, so I'll trust the rankings.
Do I rank Pivetta higher? I think I rank Gausman higher, actually. Certainly for points leagues, I do, because he has more of a history as a workhorse.
That is fair. I feel like Pivetta provided a pretty good amount of quality starts last year. I will try to pull that up and let everyone know as we figure it out. And the last pick was Riley Green. We are 1 pick away from Scott. Nick Pivetta had 19 quality starts last year. Kevin Gausman had 16. So, all right. Another hype pitcher goes Cam Schlittler. And Scott, we are back to you. I know you have 2 starters, I believe 4 hitters so far.
Yeah, I'm going to take a player that I haven't had an opportunity to draft yet this year. I kept him in a couple leagues.
I'm worried.
He had the second most points per game at his position last year. That position is second base, and that player is Luke Keeschel.
I was either taking Keeschel or Eugenio Suarez. I figured there was a better chance Keeschel would come back to me, but I didn't think it was a particularly high chance either would.
Didn't happen.
Nope.
Sorry, Chris. Sorry to let you down.
I feel like earlier in the offseason, Scott, you were a little more skeptical on Luke Keeschel. Has anything changed there? He is having a pretty massive sprint.
Like most things, I decided my reasoning was too thin for the amount of good he could do, particularly in this format. I mean, his plate discipline is so good. That's how he ended up averaging the second most points per game, which means more than Jazz Chisholm, by the way, by
he has
pretty big margin.
More home runs than strikeouts this spring. He has as many triples as strikeouts this spring. He has as many hit by pitches as strikeouts this spring. He has many stolen bases as strikeouts this spring. I say this all to say that Luke Keeschel has only struck out twice in 53 plate appearances this spring. That's pretty impressive.
Yep, that's pretty good. At the turn, we got Shota Imanaga and Shea Langoliers. Back to Scotty.
So this guy I don't normally think of as a good points league player, but he walked a lot more last year, and he averaged 3.02 points per game. So he actually averaged more points per game than James Wood did last year. And it's Randy Arozarena.
Yeah.
He's always been a higher walk rate guy than I think he gets credit for. Because he strikes out so much, but he's a patient hitter. That's part of why he strikes out.
So I actually think I'm doing okay here after an inauspicious start. I went, if you'll recall, Kyle Schwarber in round 1, Garrett Crochet in round 2. And then what really set me back was Chris Sale in round 3, Geraldo Perdomo in round 4, Obviously, Perdomo getting a boost in this format, but both of those picks felt like reaches. Sale maybe not so much a reach, but just not how I'd like to spend my third round pick. And then Perdomo felt like a reach. I gambled on Naylor making it back to me. Naylor scored more points per game than Freeman or Harper, who I would have taken the round before. I got Springer, who was amazing in this format last year. Keishel, who had the second most points per game in this format last year, and then Arozarena, who had more than James Wood in this format last year. So I'm really hitting the format specialists here, and I think it's making up for my early round lack of hitters, which was not something I like to do.
After you selected Arozarena, Nathan Eovaldi and Trevor Rogers go, and Chris, we are back to you.
Yeah, and I will continue to play the positional scarcity game, take the other second baseman that Scott didn't take, and that's Jose Altuve, who is reaching the point now where he's not really a great points league player, but he'll play a lot, and second base gets pretty ugly pretty quickly. So
for this format especially, I mean, we talk about how it's plentiful and interesting late round and category specialists. Well, category specialists, who cares about them in a points league?
Yeah.
And again, not to overemphasize this point, but it's kind of the whole game, I feel like, in our head-to-head points format with just 9 hitter spots to fill. You need impact from each of those spots. There are too few spots for you to have a watered down one. And so I don't necessarily want to just cross my fingers on Marcus Semien in this format like I would be willing to maybe in a Roto League.
All right, after Jose Altuve, Tyler Glasnow and Matt Chapman. Tyler Glasnow in his final spring start had 11 strikeouts. I believe all of them came via the curveball. So he's looking pretty good. How many innings will we get? Nobody knows. But Tyler Glasnow, he's healthy now.
That's a fine time to pick him.
Yep. And we did get some news earlier today that Blake Snell and Tommy Edman are aiming to be back before the end of May. So
yeah, that was not the most encouraging update for Snell. I was hoping for more like early May.
Yeah.
So late May, I mean, that drops him behind. Who did I move him behind? I moved him more to the Garrett Cole range in my rankings, so well beyond Carlos Rodon now. And I think my rankings don't actually reflect this, but I think there's a case even to rank Justin Steele ahead of Blake Snell because his timeline is sooner. So
yeah, I just feel a lot more confident in Snell being good when he gets out there than
that's
Steele.
why I kept Snell ahead ultimately. But late May, particularly as late as the season's starting, that's at least a third of the season he's missing.
Yeah, and Steele is coming back from. It was only the internal brace. And so, the jury is still out on just having the internal brace procedure. That's what Strider had the year prior, and we all saw what happened with Strider last year. So every pitcher is different. I get that. We'll see how Justin Steele looks when he gets back. He doesn't rely as much on velocity and things like that, so could be different for him. But yeah, we're still waiting to learn more about the internal brace procedure there. After Tyler Glasnow, we got Matt Chapman, Ryan Pepio, Pep Boys. Let's go. And then Seiya Suzuki at pick 93. We did learn Suzuki is starting the season on the IL with that PCL sprain.
Yeah, but not expected to miss much time. Chris, I wanted to ask you, Frank and I talked about this yesterday. It seems like this range of the starting pitcher rankings has gotten crushed recently. And that's part of the reason why I was a little more open to taking early pitchers. I still didn't love it, but I knew this range that I like to live in. This is
a lot of those second-year starters have gotten hit.
We've lost Savage. We've lost Spencer Strider from this range.
Chase
Burns is healthy and on the roster, but we don't know exactly in what capacity. Brandon Woodruff, we did find out he's expected to make his first turn and avoid the IL, but the fact it was a question so late into spring training, I think, makes him a little shaky. So that tier, which was already pretty small, has kind of merged with the following tier, which makes them all less attractive.
I think that's a good point. And that's pitching, right? Pitching's attrition, and we've been lucky, I think, this spring that none of the truly high-end guys have been hit yet so far, right? Like,
I think Schwellenbach was the most high-end.
Schwellenbach was a top 20 guy, Hunter Green. But
yeah, Hunter Green, good point.
2 top 20 guys being lost in spring training, I've definitely seen worse, I would say. I guess Snell was probably being drafted in that range before everything.
Lodolo just went. Frank took him, actually. That's another one in this range that has lost some value with the blister popping up on was it Saturday?
Sunday.
Yeah. And we haven't heard an update yet if that's going to force him to the IL, but given his history and given the impact that blisters have had on gripping his most important pitch, the curveball, it's a little nerve-wracking to take Lodolo here. Obviously, you were willing to do it, Frank.
Yeah, as my SP4, so I have 3 others so far. I mean, look, Bubba Chandler, I also just took at this turn. Young, unproven, not exactly sure what to expect, but obviously has pretty amazing stuff, and I think we're all expecting him to take another big step forward this season. So once you have the 3 starting pitchers, we have 3 IL spots in this league. I would almost rather Nick Lodolo just start on the IL, take 2 to 3 weeks off, and let that thing completely heal before you come back. And let's not make this a recurring thing that just kind of lingers all season. So
yeah, just because we've seen it ruin a season for him before.
Yeah. And I understand people wanting to lower him even further than that. I updated my rankings earlier today, and I dropped them from, I think, SP 25 to SP 35.
I just saw a team name that tickled me.
Which one is that?
You are muted, sir.
Yes.
That's the team name.
I mean, that team got me right before, man. I was about to take Sandy Alcantara.
Yeah, that was at the top of my queue, and I was very much thinking he would make it back to me, and nope.
I would have taken him if he was at my pick. I mean, this is a better format.
I wanted to point out the player he took at the start of 9. So he takes Alcantara before your 2 picks, Frank, Bubba Chandler, and Nick Lodolo. And then he comes back, first closer off the board at pick 98, Mason Miller. Can you tell we're drafting with people who listen to us and what we say to do in head-to-head points leagues?
Do you think this is an appropriate range to start taking the top closers?
I mean, you got to rank them somewhere, so I'd probably rank them about here, but I still have no interest in making that kind of investment at closer.
I will say I have been looking at them for my upcoming pick just because, Scott, like you said, the next range of starting pitchers feels iffier. There are still a couple of shortstops out there. Zachary Neto's one of them. I'm watching the game. He got hit by another pitch today. It has been a rough week for Zach Neto because he had the hand sprain the other day that ended up being a non-issue. Then he gets hit by a pitch on his hand, I think yesterday or the day before. And then Roki Sasaki just hit him on the elbow. But I think he stayed in the game, so I think it's okay.
Yeah. And Edwin Diaz did just go as well. So now we're starting to see those that top tier of closers. Catching people up, we're in round 9. I selected Lodolo at the top of this one. Then Mason Miller, Hunter Goodman, Will Smith, Michael King, Sonny Gray, Edwin Diaz, and Chris, you selected Jacob Misiorowski.
I am in the business of Misiorowski now, and
opening day starter Misiorowski.
Opening day starter Jacob Misiorowski. Also, just a little bit of a FOMO pick. I have not had any exposure to Jacob Misiorowski, and we have talked about our concerns about Scott. I think did you end up putting him in your bust list?
Misiorowski, yeah.
Yeah. I think the case for him as a bust is certainly viable, given the concerns I have about his command and, his ability to stay healthy. But, triple-digit pick. I haven't drafted him yet. I'm not so confident he's going to be terrible that I don't want any exposure to Jacob Misiorowski. So I'm willing to take that chance here, especially because another guy we didn't mention from this range whose value has seemingly taken a hit is Emmett Sheehan, who he's on the team.
He is in the rotation.
Well, but didn't they say that he might piggyback with Shohei Ohtani?
They did.
They were saying that last night, but
Okay.
not. They said he's actually in the rotation, and Justin Robleski is going to have that piggyback role.
Yeah.
But either way, it just brings up the point that I've made a few times, which is just that the Dodgers seem to like him a lot less than we do. And I don't know what to do with that, because that's not to say that the Dodgers don't think he's good. But you talk to fantasy baseball analysts and players, and it's like, this is one of the best pitchers in baseball. And then the Dodgers use Emmett Sheehan, and they're like, he's like a souped-up Ben Kasparius, I guess. Like that just kind of feels like how they view him. Like they were skipping him in the rotation last year. They moved him to the bullpen for the playoffs. It was just, and then there are the questions about his role coming out of spring. And it's just like, what is it? Is it that they don't trust him to stay healthy, or trust him because I'm not sure exactly what it is, but it's just I find it all very strange, and I don't quite know what to do with it. So Sheehan's another guy that I think we're just a little less confident in than we were coming into the spring.
I mean, like Scott said last night, just the fact that they're even thinking about it is just annoying for Emmett.
Yeah.
So it's just, I mean, everything that we've seen, he looks like a really dominant pitcher, and he's got pretty awesome stuff. I don't know why. Even if they used him as a 5-inning pitcher, I think he's capable of doing that. But
there's no reason he couldn't be a Freddie Peralta.
Maybe they know more than we do.
I definitely think the Dodgers know more than I do, for what it's worth. Like I want to put that out there.
After Chris selected The Miz, Jacob Mizorowski, Jacob Wilson, Ozzie Albies, Chase Burns went to Scott, and then at the turn, Matthew Boyd and Matt McClain. So up to 109. One of the hype guys from this spring, one of the big winners. Scott, you are back up. Talk to us about this pick and your previous one, Chase.
Well, I'm glad I got to share Burns. I know his stock's down a little bit, but I'm happy to get him at 107. And I thought about going with another pitcher here, but instead I'm going to reach knowingly in the interest of getting an impact player from every position. And I think the third baseman who has the best chance of doing that is Kazuma Okamoto. And I've seen a lot of recent drafts recently where he goes well ahead of ADP. And I think as shallow as this format is, we're close to filling out our starting lineups already.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I need to play the ADP game at all. I think I just need to get the guys who I think are going to be most impactful for my bottom line. That hole at third base was wearing on me, and I think it was the right move. Okamoto at 110.
There have been 124 NFBC drafts since Friday, and Okamoto's ADP there was 197, but his min pick was 108. And typically in some of the drafts that we do, he has gone earlier than the ADP would suggest there with Okamoto. After he went, Zach Neto finally. I mean, 111 for Zach Neto. I understand better in a categories league, questions about the plate discipline, but that is a massive fall.
Part of it's also like you just look at the roster grid right now. I just took CJ Abrams as my shortstop. He ends up kind of being my default for points leagues just because it's not his best format. He still scored 450 points in this format. Like he's a must-start player, but he falls a lot. And I might have just been able to play chicken and see if he would have dropped 30 or 40 more picks just because is anybody going to be excited about taking CJ Abrams with their util pick? Probably not. But I decided to just take him. He's a rock-solid starter at shortstop, and everybody's got a shortstop now. So what we're going to see is I would guess the consensus is Trevor Story's the next best shortstop, and then you have Willy Adames, JJ Weatherholt. For those of you who have not filled your second base spot who are listening, that would be a good choice.
Our two most... sorry.
Go ahead.
Our two most recent head-to-head points drafts, one of which was streamed, one of which was actually an auction, but we encountered the same issue at shortstop, and it happened to be the same three both times: CJ Abrams, Jeremy Pena, and Trevor Story. And
Pena went earlier in this one.
Yeah, in this draft, it was Zach Neto instead of some of those others, maybe because of recent injury stuff. I think he and CJ Abrams are pretty close, so it doesn't surprise me that Neto fell in the same way. There are just only 12 shortstops to fill and way more quality shortstops than can fill them. So I don't know if people need to get in their heads that those guys make good utility players too. Like you're going to use Abrams, Chris? Because Abrams
he is my shortstop.
Oh, he is. Okay. But if he was your utility player, 3.13 points per game last year.
That's good.
Abrams. I mean, that's.
I mean, even like Willie Adames is not a good points league player. He still scored 445 points last year.
Abrams 3.13. Matt Olson was 311, and Freddie Freeman was 314. Now, neither of those had their best work, Olson or Freeman, but still, like Abrams was right there with them last year.
And I think most people, if they ended up with Freddie Freeman as their util for some reason, I think you'd feel good about it.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I do think, like, Trevor Story scored 470 points in this format last year. That's a really good year. I think there's a lot of reasons to be skeptical that he's going to do it again. He has very poor plate discipline, all that. But, like, yeah, a lot of these guys just kind of fall too far. And we talk about that a lot. Like, Trey Turner has probably been one of the best discounts in points leagues his entire career. Just because I do think some people, when it comes to the head-to-head points format, they get in their head that guys who are good in roto and steal a lot of bases and don't hit for power, like that specific archetype that we're talking about, they just aren't good points players. And it's like, well, no, they're not as good.
On some other platforms' default scoring system. Like, I think ESPN just does 1 point per steal. I'm not sure. Does Yahoo do 1 point per steal? If it's 1 point per steal, then it does hurt those guys quite a bit. But
ESPN is a full minus point for strikeout as well. So Trevor Story, CJ Abrams, those guys really get hurt by that. But in our format, we've always seen Trey Turner, more like a third round pick in our format, even though he's probably more like a second round pick in terms of the kind of player he actually is. So I think Ellie De La Cruz gets that a little bit as well. Those types of players tend to be undervalued in head-to-head points. And I think we're seeing it right now where I think half the league has a catcher. I think Agustin Ramirez has been one of the best picks on the board for multiple rounds.
Yeah.
He's a really good points league player for a catcher, just because he actually does make a lot of contact, and you'll get points for those steals, and he's going to play pretty much every day. Although
you're trying to get him picked, Chris, come on.
It is interesting that the Marlins are only carrying 2 catchers, so Agustin Ramirez will be catching at least some to open the season.
And who's the Liam Hicks?
Liam Hicks.
I saw Rossi Resource had Liam Hicks as their DH now.
They'll probably be trading off catcher DH till Stowers is back.
Yeah, I think they'll both play pretty much every day.
That's crazy stuff. Catching people up, there were a lot of picks going back to round 10. We saw Abrams went to Chris. Then there was Andres Munoz, Stephen Kwan, and Ian Happ back-to-back. Great points leagues players at this point in the draft. Brandon Lau, Cade Smith, Yohan Duran. So all those elite closers going in rounds 9 and 10. At the turn, I selected Yandy Diaz and Robbie Ray. I needed a starting first baseman. This is Diaz's better format. Really good plate discipline for him. Robbie Ray is my SP5. So it's interesting that Scott and I kind of switched spots this draft just in terms of how we're drafting. I'm kind of doing the volume approach and just trying to get as many SP, 3s as I possibly can. And I'm just going to try to attack it that way. Because I already have 5 starting pitchers now, and I'm going to keep adding to that number, but just not really comfortable with the high-end names that I wound up with. So just going to keep drafting a bunch of pitchers. After Robbie Ray, Chris Bubich, Jack Caglione, 123. Keep on rising. Ranger Suarez, Cade Horton, Willie Adames, O'Neal Cruz, Brandon Woodruff went to Chris, and then Dalton Varsho. So we learned that Brandon Woodruff will be in the opening day rotation for the Brewers. He will pitch on March 31st, so a little later into the season. I think he's like their SP3 or SP4. But Chris, good news that we finally learned Woodruff will be on the opening day rotation.
Yeah, and I have questions. His velocity was down yet again this spring. His velocity was obviously already down 3 miles per hour last season from the previous time we saw him. I do definitely worry that at some point this is going to matter.
It was only down a little this spring.
It was down another mile an hour from last year, but it didn't matter last year.
Yeah,
he was as good as ever on a per inning basis. It doesn't feel sustainable at all, but
Yeah, I mean, he only made 2 starts, 1 mile per hour. Like that to me is pretty negligible. Like
Sure.
he could get that mile per hour back pretty easily.
But I think the way to look at it is it's not going to go up from last year, I think. So I don't think we're going to get back to 95, 96 mile an hour Brandon Woodruff. But like I said, it was 93 last year and it didn't really matter because his fastball shape is still really good for both the 4-seamer and sinker. He added that cutter that was really good. He's just, my only concern is just, can he stay healthy? If he can, I think Brandon Woodruff should continue to be very good.
All right, after you selected Brandon Woodruff, we got Dalton Varsho, David Bednar, Gavin Williams to Scott. Then at the turn, Brian Reynolds and Aroldis Chapman. Emmett Sheehan to Scott, buying the dip, and then Max Muncy. So here you go, Scott. You're diving back into the pitcher pool, and you're getting the dip here on both Sheehan and Chase Burns as your SP3 and
I'm
5.
getting a lot of high upside arms, I got to say. Between Sheehan and Burns.
To go along with 2 studs, too.
I know.
You got Crochet and
I
Sale.
know. This is a fun rotation I've built. I don't know that it's the safest rotation. I mean, it's safer than my usual rotations just because I got 2 high-end guys, right? But yeah, I mean, I can't complain about what's happening here. I think I'd actually feel a little worse about taking Burns and Sheehan if I didn't have those 2 aces, because you need somebody that you can rely on, those foundational arms that you can plug in every week. And I'm not confident Burns and Sheehan is going to be that. But since I do have the 2 high-end arms, like, well, let's shoot for upside, particularly since I don't think I reached for either one of Burns or Sheehan.
After Sheehan, we got Muncy, Luis Castillo, and Chris, you selected Carlos Rodon. We have 3 IL spots in this league, and sounds like he'll be back before the end of April.
Yep, and velocity reports so far have been very promising. He was actually up in his first live BP, I think, from last year. So I'm pretty optimistic that Carlos Rodon is going to be very good when he gets back, and it sounds like he'll be back pretty soon. So in a head-to-head points league, I think trying to get an impact arm who, okay, he might miss a couple of starts, but, I might still get 20, 28, 29 starts out of Carlos Rodon. They should be very good. And he's led the AL in wins, I think, consecutive years. The Yankees have a good bullpen, good offense, obviously.
I think it was Crochet last year, but he has been high up there the past 2 years.
I thought didn't he tie? I don't know. Maybe not.
I wanted to comment on a couple of these other picks that went off the board recently. So in the middle of round 11, in the middle of the previous round, we had Willy Adames. We were just saying, I wonder how long it's going to take Trevor Story to get drafted. And Willy Adames gets drafted, which kind of undermines what we were saying about shortstop, these guys sliding forever. I don't know. Somebody really likes Willy Adames. He actually had 0.2 fewer points per game than Story last year. I don't know that we're necessarily counting on Story to repeat, but Willy Adames was kind of surprising there. Max Muncy at 135, that might surprise some people. I think in a points league, it makes perfect sense. 1, it's more critical to fill those weak positions. 2, Muncy's always been a better points league player. The low batting average doesn't hurt you there. He walks a ton, 2.99 points per game last year. That was basically right in line with Michael Garcia, I should say.
It's going to take a while to get used to that one, yeah.
Yeah. Now, Muncy, points per game, it's like, well, he sits some, right? I think even if he's out of the lineup against lefties, once they go to the bullpen, he's going to be coming off the bench in a lot of those games. I think particularly this format where he's so good, but really in Roto also, the concerns over his playing time are overblown. Obviously, at his age, he could get hurt, but I'm not as concerned about his platoon status because that bench for the Dodgers are pretty thin. They're going to want to get his bat in as soon in the game as makes sense.
By the way,
early in the game as makes sense.
We're not far from where this guy usually goes, but he's not going to go anywhere near here. Carlos Estevez pitched in the spring again today. 6.5 miles an hour down. He's averaging 89. It was like that in his WBC outings as well. I think there was one outing where the velocity was a little better, but yeah, it's We're really running out of time. Like, this is probably the last time Carlos Estevez will pitch before the opening, the season opener, and everything is 6 to 8 miles an hour down. It's really, that is not optimistic.
There are some
Promising.
interesting picks going off here, Frank.
All right, let's read them off then. After Chris selected Carlos Rodon back in round 12, we got Teoscar Hernandez, Mackenzie Gore, Zach Gallen, Ryan Nelson. That might surprise some, but he is the highest ranked SPARP for this upcoming season.
I was considering Ryan Nelson with my last pick, and I just thought it was a little too early, and turns out it wasn't.
Yeah, I was gonna
consider some of the other SPARPs too here, but it felt a little.
Nelson's far and away the best, I think, and it was a good time to make that reach for him. And then the following pick, 142, Isaac Paredes. I think it makes sense for the same reason I took Okamoto early, for the same reason that other guy took Max Muncy early.
Mm-hmm.
So few hitter spots to fill. Third base is one where you don't want to get left out, and those three I think have been undervalued this entire preseason, especially for this format. All three are better in this format.
After Paredes, we got Jonathan Aranda at the turn. I selected Garrett Cole and Brandon Nimmo.
Oh, I was thinking about Nimmo with my previous pick.
Yep,
So it's a good
he
one.
was my top.
Yep.
The Aranda one is interesting because of who else is still there at first base.
There are some really good names there still.
That is one where it's like, oh man, if I'd missed out on Josh Naylor knowing this guy was still available in round 13, I don't know if I should say it because I don't want to. Somebody's going to end up very angry at me if I point it out. It's probably they just sort by first baseman. It's Michael Busch. Michael Busch is still there in round 13 after Jonathan Aranda goes off the board. That is great value. I have no place to play him personally.
I could have filled my utility spot here, but again, I did want to continue to build out those starting pitchers. And again, we got a couple IL spots, so I took Garrett Cole. In a lot of drafts, once you see Rodon or Cole go, typically the other one goes soon after. It's kind of just like reminder. All right, now's the time to start looking at those guys. So once I saw Chris select Carlos Rodon, that's where my mind went, is started thinking about Garrett Cole. And then again, I took Brendan Nimmo to start off round 13. JJ Weatherholt at pick 146 will be on the opening day roster for the Cardinals as expected, but we finally got confirmation on that. He's expected to play second base for the Cardinals.
Yeah, we need to start treating Weatherholt like we do Bo Bichette, where he's shortstop right now, but he's going to pick up eligibility at a weaker position.
That's true. Yep, that is a good point. After Weatherholt, Taylor Ward, Tanner Bybee, Spencer Strider, again with that oblique strain, start him on the IL. Mike Trout, Michael Busch, we got the name drop. He went and got drafted there. And then, Chris, you got the second SPARP in Cody Ponce, who I also thought about taking at my pick.
Yeah, it's not where I rank it. It's not what ADP says, but I think you either got to start thinking about taking your RPs or start pushing SPARPs up the board. I'll push the SPARPs up the board because I feel confident. I'm never worried about filling my RP spots in a 12-team points league. I do want to add to the previous discussion, we might also have to talk about Kevin McGonigal in the same way we are talking about JJ Weatherholt and Bo Bichette, because McGonigal may play third base for the Tigers. He's been used at both shortstop and third base. Roster Resource actually has him. Their projection is he's the starting third baseman. I don't really think that makes the most sense, but I think if he makes the team, he's going to play both positions, shortstop and third base.
And he started here on Monday night at third base, and it's not exactly their Tigers opening day lineup, but it's pretty close to it. Yep. So, and they haven't sent him down yet. So I'm pretty much feeling like McGonigal will be there.
Yep.
After Ponce, we got.
So I guess Colt Keith is the fulcrum there, because right now Roster Resource lists Colt Keith as DH, but obviously he would be the one playing shortstop. Playing third base otherwise.
Yeah, it might be a platoon thing, right? Like you start Colt Keith against the tougher righty or all righties, and maybe they approach it that way.
Yeah, and they were going up against a righty today, and Ryan Feltner, who made the rotation over Chase Dolander. How could they?
Yeah, well, what's the explanation there?
Rockies?
Yeah, but what's the point of having Chase Dolander on the roster if he's not going to be in the rotation? I just don't get that. I just don't understand the thought. Like,
Me neither.
I
don't think he's
understand.
that good,
I
Chris.
understand.
I gotta be
right,
honest.
that's fine. But like, Tomoyuki Sagano is not good.
Yeah.
And he's also almost 40 years old.
Yeah, like right, like none. They don't have any good pitchers.
Jose Quintana.
Yeah, like the Michael Lorenzen, Jose Quintana, right? Like, I think Ryan Feltner in a different context might be kind of interesting, but okay, yeah, you can be down on Chase Dollander. He should be in the rotation ahead of anyone in the rotation.
Yep,
I don't
agree with
understand that at all.
As somebody who took him in NL labor, Chris, I was hoping that Dollander would be in the rotation, but he's not. Let's catch people up. After Chris selected Cody Ponce, Lawrence Butler, Edward Cabrera, Jacob Marcy went to Scott, and then at the turn, Aaron Nola and Sal Stewart, right in my heart. I knew I left him there for too long. I couldn't justify taking him over Michael Busch. And I also didn't want to fill my utility spot yet, so it hurt. It hurt.
He's looked great this spring.
Stewart.
I had Sal Stewart. I came out with my biggest winners and losers of spring training, and I went ahead and put Sal Stewart on there. More walks than strikeouts, 4 stolen bases.
He's also, I think he's going to be the cleanup hitter. At least that's the latest I saw. Terry Francona's talking about swapping him and Eugenio Suarez in the lineup.
Now, I will point out, you were saying you didn't want to fill utility so early, Frank.
Yep.
The guy who took Sal Stewart took him for his utility spot. And actually, the guy who took Michael Busch also took him for his utility spot. He had Vladimir Guerrero.
Yep.
All the first base spots are full here. Aranda being the weakest. But that is not something. I guess a lot of times somebody drafts Tyler Soderstrom for the outfield, but in this case, the person who took Soderstrom has 3 outfielders, so that kind of threw off the numbers a little bit, and allowed Busch to slide.
Yeah, no, it did, and it's a fair point. Like I could have just taken one of those guys for my utility bat right now, but Brendan Nimmo was kind of the last of those points league specialists, and got him as my 3rd outfielder. I wanted to fill that outfield spot before I get to the utility, but
I don't know. Jacob Marcy, points league specialist, maybe. I keep drafting him as my 3rd outfielder in this format.
Should walk a bunch.
I have him as a bust, but let's just put that aside.
Don't know if he'll hit, but he should walk. And then run once he's on base.
Yeah.
After Sal Stewart, Scott selected Trey Yesavage. So just loading up on all the hype guys, Scott.
Yeah, man.
Buying all the dips.
Buying all the dips. Why not?
What's your favorite dip, Scott? Like a French onion dip, a ranch dip?
Oh, I think a good 7-layer dip is good. I do like French onion also.
It's pretty good.
Not a blue cheese guy at all.
Me neither.
Hummus is there are occasions where it's a nice thing to have, but it's not like something I look forward to with enthusiasm, which is how you look forward to anything.
Yep. I do agree with most of the takes there. I do like a good onion dip, ranch dip. Big fan of ranch dip as well. Ranch anything is usually.
Ranch is overrated.
Oh my god, that is.
I like blue cheese.
Take, Scott, that is the worst I've ever heard.
I like blue cheese more than ranch personally.
I will eat ranch if there's nothing else. But again, not something I look forward to.
All right. Well, there were a lot of picks. I will read them off in a second. I've got to figure out what I'm going to do. I think I'm going to take a Sparp here. Someone I like quite a bit this season is Braxton Ashcraft with the Pirates. And we're starting to see a lot of these pitchers go. Mike Burrows went 1 pick before. Shane O'Mac, who I was looking at too. Chris, we talked about this last night. Scott and I did. Shane McClanahan, I've kind of had a tough time wrapping my mind around him this spring because he's looked good from a results standpoint, but his velocity remains way down. Is there just a chance that he can do the Brandon Woodruff thing from last year, this year, Shane O'Mac?
Maybe. Like it's certainly possible, but I think the big distinction there would be Woodruff has always been a shape manipulator for his fastballs.
Ooh, it sounds like sci-fi.
Yeah. He's always had a great four-seamer and a great sinker. He's had the ability to throw a cutter. We saw him really expand that last season. McClanahan has never been a pitcher with as much nuance. It's not quite the same as Spencer Strider, where it's just, Spencer Strider basically a two-pitch pitcher. McClanahan has always had the full four-pitch arsenal, but he's always had to rely on having a really, really good fastball in a way that maybe he can at 94 instead of 96. It's just harder for me to see it. So I know the results have still been very good this spring. I think it's fine to be hopeful, but I think it's less likely it works out for him than, Woodruff, certainly.
So lots of picks to talk about. And let's see, going back to round 14, I think we left off with Savage there with Scott. And then there was Luis Robert, Raisel Iglesias, Michael Harris went to Chris, Drew Rasmussen, Brendan Donovan, Jorge Polanco, Devin Williams, Shane O'Mac went at 166. Then Michael Burrows, and I selected Braxton Ashcraft, the third.
What were you saying? Good pick too?
What's up?
Chris said good pick too.
Connolly Early.
So that was my pick, first pick of round 15. Yeah. I basically, we learned that he's going to be on the opening day roster. Mm-hmm. It's still, unless you guys have seen something different, we don't know who's going to start between him and Johan Oviedo. Oviedo got rocked here on Monday. There was speculation from Chris Cotillo, who covers the team, who said he believes that Early will be in the rotation and Oviedo will be the long reliever.
That seems like such an obvious pick to me. I know there are people who like Johan Oviedo, and I suppose he's fine in a, look, number 4 starting pitchers make like $18 million a year in Major League Baseball, right? Like those are valuable players, but I think he's just a number 4 starting pitcher. And I have hope that Connolly Early can be more than that. So if it was up to me, certainly, I would default to Connolly Early over Johan Oviedo. And just, if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. And you can throw Oviedo in there, and he's a high floor pitcher who can provide some stabilization to your rotation. But I just think I would always rather chase the upside with a guy like Connolly Early, who has proven he can get Major League batters out as well. Whereas at least with Peyton Tolley, we like him. There's a lot to like in terms of the physical characteristics, but he wasn't as good as Connolly Early late last season. So I think Connolly Early should have always been in the rotation. And someone in the chat just asked Connolly Early over Parker Messick.
Yes.
I think so. Yeah. I really like Parker Messick, and I'm really happy he's in the rotation as well, because that's another one where it's just Logan Allen, Logan Allen's a fine bench piece again, but or a depth piece, but Parker Messick might actually be good. But I think Connolly Early just has better stuff than Parker Messick. So I think both should be drafted in all remaining leagues. But yeah, I would take Connolly Early ahead of Parker Messick, even though I think Messick probably has a little more job security.
Yep. And I updated the rankings earlier. I moved Connolly Early inside my top 60 starting pitchers. So I just needed to know that he made the team. I think he'll be in the opening day rotation. So I'm very excited about it.
I moved him up 20 spots, and I thought that was enough, but you guys have me beat. I have him 75th, Connolly Early.
Yeah, he's 57 for me. I have Messick 67.
If I knew Early was in the rotation, it might be different. I'm presuming he's not, but it's more like a Didier Fuentes situation, where as soon as there's an opening, and actually that turned out not to be true for Fuentes, because it sounds like Jose Suarez is taking Spencer Strider's place. But I'm sure with the next opening, it'll be Fuentes.
Hopefully. Let's see. After I selected Early, we got Shane Baz, Merrill Kelly, Andrew Abbott, Ryan Helsley. Just a bunch of pitchers here. Daniel Palencia, Kodai Senga, who's had a very nice spring. His velocity has been up. He looks healthy again. Ivan Herrera went to Chris. And we did get Parker Messick, Shane Smith, Kevin McGonigal to Scott, Salvador Perez, and Jack Leiter. Scott, talk to us about McGonigal and whoever you pick right now, round 16.
Who should I pick? 3 IL spots, you say?
3 IL spots.
All right, let's do Snell.
There you go.
Let's do Blake Snell. I already got you Savage. So 2 of those IL spots are filled already, but a lot of the interesting ones have come off the board. I liked taking McGonigal there. He will probably be my only bench hitter. I think if he is good, he will be outrageously good in this format, and it sounds like he's going to be able to back me up at two positions that are difficult to fill off the waiver wire: shortstop and third base. I guess shortstop's not that difficult in a league this size, but yeah, I think he's gonna walk more than he strikes out, and those guys are always golden in this format, especially if they can hit it all. McGonigal should hit a lot.
All right, after McGonigal, we got Perez, Jack Leiter. Scott selected Blake Snell. Stash him on the IL, goes 182nd here. Kyle Stowers, who starts the season on the IL with a hamstring strain. He re-injured that hamstring. Sounds like he'll miss the first month of the season. And then Tyler Mahle goes. Tyler Mahle has had himself a nice spring and obviously pitching in a good ballpark out there in San Francisco. Chris, we are back to you in round 16. Another hype pitcher. Nick Abel.
I have a lot of questions about how real this spring training is for Mick Abel, but he's been one of the best pitchers in the league this spring. He's certainly a talented dude, and it's I think it's worth making the bet around what are we, around 180. I was looking something up when we were talking about it earlier, and then it just fell by the wayside. But one of you mentioned Sal Stewart is having a great spring, and he is. 17% walk rate, 15% strikeout rate, 1067 OPS. I did notice the Reds just faced the Rockies like every game this spring. Like I know the Grapefruit League or the Cactus League is just a bonkers place to hit in general, but
yeah,
they have 7 hitters with an OPS over 1,000. They have 9 hitters with an OPS over 947. That includes Reese Hines at 1414, Dane Myers, Sal Stewart, JJ Bleday, Will Benson, Jose Trevino.
It's a bonkers place to hit.
Yeah.
For what it's worth, Stewart has game log shows only 1 game against the Rockies.
Oh, that was a joke, to be clear. But they just, that everybody on that team has crazy numbers except for Spencer Steer, basically. Actually, sorry. Brian Hayes is in midseason form. He has a 568 OPS.
Yep, that sounds about right. After you selected Mick Abel, Jeff Hoffman, Joey Cantillo, another one of those Sparps here. Could throw him in your relief pitcher spot. Jameson Taillon and Sal Frelick. We haven't talked about this just because why would we? But Jameson Taillon has had an awful spring. Yeah. I know he's a veteran, but he's giving up home runs at an alarming rate. His ERA is like 15 or something like that.
Wow, he has
it's not great.
He has more home runs allowed than walks allowed this spring. And he does not have a low walk rate. He has allowed 9 walks in 13 1/3 innings. He has allowed 10 home runs. That is Jameson Taillon. That is I would basically only touch him in a head-to-head points league, but I think he's a viable more of a bench pick, when you're just stashing as many pitchers as you can on the bench. But I don't have any problem with Jameson Taillon in a points league.
Yeah, I don't know that the spring means anything for a guy who's been around that long unless
Probably
we see a big drop in velocity.
And I don't think that's been the case for him.
No, I haven't noticed anything along those lines. I mean, he's a pitcher who lives on the margins anyway, so it wouldn't take much for him to fall apart. But I think spring for him is all just about getting ready for the season. Obviously, he's not competing for anything. He's 34 years old. He's got his contract. I don't think he's sweating the results.
After Jameson Taillon, there was Sal Frelick, Noah Cameron, Wilson Contreras. At the 16-17 turn, I selected Agustin Ramirez. And
finally did it.
Trevor Story at 193. All right, I'll take
dirty dog.
I'll take my utility hitter now, Scott. At 193.
Yeah.
But you know what we mentioned earlier? You took a catcher, right? Agustin Ramirez?
Yeah.
The one you wanted, Chris.
Well, no, but the one I mentioned early on about why I don't want to be the one to take a catcher early. It's the 196th pick, and Drake Baldwin's still out there.
Yeah.
Drake Baldwin might be a top 5 catcher this season.
It was hard for me to take Agustin Ramirez over Baldwin. I like both of them. But again, I'll just default.
I think Ramirez has a little bit of an edge in playing time. As much as we think Baldwin's going to play, I think Ramirez will play more.
And he gets the extra benefit of stolen bases.
Yeah, but Baldwin is probably the better hitter.
I think so.
I mean, there's still Samuel Basayo. There's still
Gabriel Moreno. We love.
Yeah, Gabriel, especially in this format. There's still
Francisco Alvarez is just not going to get drafted.
Carter Jensen, literally one of the players I love. Like it's catcher. There's just so much there for a 12-team league. It always feels like a reach.
Yep.
That being said, I was hoping Drake Baldwin made it to you. I actually had the same debate going on in my mind. Drake Baldwin goes here at 199.
I kind of wish you took him, Scott, just so it wouldn't have been an option for me.
It's like, I rank Ramirez ahead. I think maybe his upside is higher, but I kind of want Baldwin more. So once somebody takes Ramirez, I'll take Baldwin.
I was hoping the same thing, that someone else would
took Ramirez.
Yeah.
Too far away from me, Frank.
Yeah, I think everybody was thinking the same thing. Is all right, once someone takes Ramirez, then we'll go Baldwin. And that's exactly what happened here. We are into round 17. I took Story, then there was Adley Rutschman. Matthew Liberatore has had himself a nice spring as well, throwing his slider more, getting lots of whiffs with that pitch. Will be the opening day starter for the Cardinals. Bryce Miller, who will start the season on the IL with an oblique strain, but should be back soon. Clay Holmes, Willier Abreu, Drake Baldwin, Dalen Lyle Chris, and Carter Jensen and Jacob Lopez. So as we typically see in a head-to-head points league, we just get so deep into the pitcher pool so quickly in the draft.
Oh yeah. Yeah, we are out of like good pitchers. Now it's just
take a shot on some upside guy.
Yeah. Just whichever guy you like, but you don't actually have a lot of faith in them. I just saw, we haven't really talked about Chase DeLauter's spring much.
No, we haven't.
He just hit a 450-foot home run in the game that he's playing.
You're seeing a lot of those 440, 450-foot home runs in the Cactus League.
This was in Arizona. At Chase Field, I think is where they're playing.
Okay. Yeah, because they're in the MLB stadiums now, right?
Still at elevation, but
yep.
Chase DeLauter is having, like, I know there are a lot of, he's barely played. He's played like 163 games, I think, in his career since being drafted in 2022 or 2023. He is putting up some really impressive numbers. He's got I think it's like a 92% contact rate this spring when he swings, and his average exit velocity has been 94 miles per hour. His hard hit rate is close to 60%. He's had like 20 batted balls over 100 miles per hour. Chase DeLauter, I don't know if I'm sure you two have seen him, but the audience, he's got a funky swing. It does not look comfortable.
Yeah.
But that dude might just be a hitter.
I mean, they've always kind of talked about him like he's a hitting savant, and just continued to put him high in the prospect rankings, even amid all the foot injuries, which have cost him more time than he's played in the minors.
Yep.
It wasn't just foot; he had a couple other things, but that same foot he's broken like 3 times. Yeah, it is a funny looking swing. It's almost like it almost is like he's like a mechanical player, if you know what I mean. Like, imagine the baseball version of a foosball table. You got like a mechanical batter at the plate who doesn't move his arms at all, and you just twists. He just twists. That's what DeLauter's swing reminds me of.
Yeah,
doesn't look comfortable or like it would work, but let's hope he stays healthy.
It works for him. I just took him.
You talked yourself into it, huh?
Really hope. Well, he's someone that I've been wanting to get more into. I think he might be really good.
All right, lots of picks flying off the board here, and good thing I was looking at Andrew Painter, because he gone into round 18. Carlos Correa, Samuel Basayo to Scott, Francisco Alvarez, Ryan Weathers, Chase DeLauter, Chris is in, then Andrew Painter, Jack Flaherty, Kenley Jansen, and Gleyber Torres. If you just completely wait at second base, getting Gleyber Torres at this point in a points league, not a bad option.
No, not a bad option. 2.79 points per game was about the same as Jose Altuve last year. It was an unusually good plate discipline year for Torres, but unusually bad in other ways. So maybe it washes out. Definitely not a bad pick. By the way, I missed out on that catcher run with Agustin Ramirez and Drake Baldwin, and somebody jumped in and grabbed Carter Jensen right after that. So I guess I'll have to settle for Samuel Basallo, who might just be the AL Rookie of the Year favorite.
Did Francisco Alvarez get drafted?
Yes,
He did as somebody's second catcher. Everybody has a catcher now, and somebody has two.
All right, I'm going to keep filling up these IL spots, I suppose, and get some pickups out of it. I will.
Oh, no, wait. It wasn't somebody's second catcher. I'm sorry. I guess I overlooked somebody who didn't have one yet. Though somebody does have two catchers. Somebody has Boucher, Langoliers, and Salvador Perez.
Well, you can play one of them at. You could play Salvi at first base if you wanted to, but
you wouldn't want to.
I don't think so. But we would say the same thing about Ben Rice, Scott. And
no, I think Ben Rice is different in a points league, especially.
All right. I'd selected Joe Musgrove, throw him on the IL, and I'm going to take another Sparp here. Anthony Kay, coming back from the NPB, I believe, in Japan, and he's looked really good this spring. He's locked in as the SP3 for the White Sox. Interested to see what he could do, and again, it's just kind of a late round Sparp dart at this point in the draft. So, man, look at all these pitchers. All the picks are pitchers, man. Chad Patrick, Shane Bieber,
none Musgrove, of them are good.
Anthony Kay, Jung-Hoo Lee, Max Scherzer.
Did you see some upside pitchers here still?
Did you see how Max Scherzer got past his the lingering thumb injury that he's been dealing with for the last couple of years? No, he started playing piano. And that apparently helped him get past the, which I would love to watch Max Scherzer taking piano lessons. Do you think he's as intense about that as he is about everything else that we see with him?
Probably.
He started playing the piano because that stretched his hands more?
I think it helped him.
It's like a hand workout?
Yeah, I think that was the thought process there. Look, I'm not the person who told him to do that. Don't ask me.
I just wondered if you knew the how as opposed to the what.
No. I am strictly here for the what.
After Scherzer went, we got Will Warren, Zach Eflin, Mitch Keller, Jordan Westberg, Reed Detmers. So another Sparp there to Chris.
He's starting a splitter this spring. That's a thing that's happening. I don't know if it matters, but
somebody took Parker Messick already, right?
Yep. Yeah, he went around.
Oh no. I was thinking of somebody else.
Chris, do you have any thoughts?
Cantillo, Joey Cantillo. He's gone too.
Yeah,
that's the Sparp.
Chris, do you have any thoughts on Will Warren or Zach Eflin? Both have had pretty good springs in their own right.
Eflin, I mean, was it 2023? He was really, really good, and then
sounds right.
I think he's just struggled to stay healthy since then. But if he's healthy, he might be a solid starter backed up by a good team with the Orioles. So I'm interested in that. And Warren's had an awesome spring, and I think among the various rotation options for the Yankees, I think Will Warren is probably less likely to get shifted to the bullpen than Luis Gil or Ryan Weathers when Carlos Rodon and Garrett Cole are healthy, just because I think there's probably less juice to squeeze out of Will Warren getting him in the bullpen. Whereas I think you could see Luis Gil and especially Ryan Weathers really developing into impact arms. And I think given the state of the Yankees bullpen and the lack of investment in the Yankees bullpen this offseason, my guess is that's the plan. That they are looking at Carlos Rodon and Garrett Cole as de facto upgrades for their bullpen because they'll be able to move some of their starters in there because it's actually a pretty iffy bullpen right now. I mean, their closer got sent to AAA the last 2 years, but other than that, he's been great. So yeah, I think
like David Bednar was not amazing last year.
I know, but it's still true.
It is true. And Gil Duvall has been very up and down.
But I think the plan is to get Gil and Weathers into the bullpen at some point. Obviously, look, if Ryan Weathers is good, they'll just leave him in the rotation. But if he's the same like 4-ish ERA guy that he's been, I think he could be a real weapon out of the bullpen in a way that he hasn't necessarily been as a starter yet.
In fact, I believe they're actually starting the season with Luis Gil in the bullpen.
Yeah.
The way that the schedule lines up is they only need 4 starters for the first, couple of weeks. And by that point, I mean, Carlos Rodon might be back. So they've got Fried, Schlittler, Warren, and Weathers as their 4 starters with Luis Gil in a long relief role there to start the season with the Yankees. After Chris selected Reed Detmers, we got Hunter Green, so another IL stashed pitcher there. Trevor McGill, Grant Holmes to Scott, Xavier Edwards, and Brady Singer at the turn.
How do you like that callback, Grant Holmes? I called that in round 2.
Yeah, you got your guy.
I did.
What are we doing now?
I think I'm taking Roki Sasaki because why not?
Oof.
Well, we do run waivers before. We'll run them tomorrow night, so you can drop Roki Sasaki.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to give him a start or 2 first, but obviously just
16 ERA this spring.
Yeah, I'm not saying I feel like he's going to be good. I'm saying this league is so shallow and we're so deep into the pitcher pool that rather than just take some Chris Bassett type that I could pick up later anyway, the Dodgers have insisted this whole time. He's in our rotation. He's fine.
Yeah.
The Dodgers know more than I do. Yes, they do. I doubt it. But it's a shallow head-to-head points league.
I understand.
After Sasaki went, we did get Chris Bassett and then Dennis Santana.
It's funny. Chris Bassett was actually the pitcher who went next. I just pulled that name randomly.
Dennis Santana, we learned here on Monday that they could use multiple relievers for saves. It was kind of one of those things where they said, we could use Dennis Santana earlier in the game if it calls for it. We could mix and match in the 9th inning. I mean, how much do you guys buy that? Are you lowering Dennis Santana?
I think that's just what managers are supposed to say these days. I'm not saying it'll never happen that Santana will work the 8th inning. Sometimes Edwin Diaz works an 8th inning, but I don't, it didn't really move me in any way. Because part of what was baked in there was him confirming that they view Santana as their highest leverage guy. It's just, sometimes the higher leverage situation will be in the 8th instead of the 9th. Yeah, that's basically what every manager says these days.
All right, can I give you guys something that may not matter?
Sure.
But I noticed it yesterday while writing the waiver wire column. Here's how Randy Vasquez's schedule lines up to start the season. Remember, he's someone who, he had like a 3.80 ERA last season, but the peripherals were really bad. But he's had a 2 to 3 mile per hour velocity jump this spring. He's looked okay. But the schedule might line up versus San Francisco, at Pittsburgh, versus Colorado, at Los Angeles Angels. It's pretty good for a streamer early in the season.
It's pretty nice.
So I'll take Randy Vasquez and see if there's anything at all there. There probably isn't, and I will probably be dropping him.
All right. I did click on his name just to see if he had sneaky RP eligibility. He
doesn't. He did. I think last year he did, but he did not this year.
Yeah. Justin Steele is the next pick. Again, he could be back sometime in May. Another IL
if I didn't go Sasaki, I would have gone Steele.
For those watching on YouTube, you'll see this. I'll explain for those listening on audio. There's the team that is picking 4th in this draft is named Kenny Buttram, and his team name is the RoboScots. He sent in a Photoshop that was RoboCop with only Scott's mouth photo. It was so disturbing, and I loved it. So that's how Kenny got into the league.
I gotta blow this up. See if I recognize that mouth.
Oh, it's
so grainy when I get it big enough that I could actually see it.
Oh gosh!
I like the expression on my face. It's kind of a smirk. I look like a cool guy.
Is that not just your CBS mugshot?
Yeah, it's your CBS mugshot.
Oh.
I'm looking at
I never noticed how crooked my smile is in that mugshot until you take my eyes away.
All right, I am here at the turn. I'm going to take a few more shots at some maybe upside pitchers. Who knows? But Simeon Woods Richardson and Brandon Sproat. Sproat in the Brewers rotation to start the year. The next pick was Dustin May, who I also was considering.
Yeah.
Maybe I should have gone that route, but didn't.
I don't think you'll miss May.
Yeah. You like the movie, Scott? Miss May?
I didn't know it was a movie. Do you know of the
Arch-
movie?
What am I thinking of? I'm thinking of something else.
Miss Maisel?
Miss May? I don't know.
Miss May?
There's a band. There's a metalcore band called Miss May I.
Right, that is a band.
But I don't.
Miss May. Now you got to kiss May. That was the thing, right?
I'll see what comes to mind. But we are in round 21. I selected Brandon Sproat, then Dustin May, Alec Burleson, Didier Fuentes goes off the board there, Caleb Durbin, and Mickey Moniak.
Fuentes also somebody I considered, but I think it would be hard since he's taken up one of 5 bench spots in a league where there's tons of waiver churn. I think it would be hard to wait out his eventual entry into the rotation.
Yeah, it's tough to stash a guy like him too, because I feel like you churn and burn so much in a league like this. You're picking up 2-star pitchers, and if you need a sleeper hitter on a certain week, so it's like it's kind of hard to stash guys. Unless
I had no interest in drafting Connor Griffin in this league for the same reason.
But man, Fuentes looks.
Yeah, I had Connor Griffin in my queue, and it just I don't know if I wanted to actually do it, so I didn't.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. Good.
And Kenny in the chat did say that he thinks Fuentes could wind up being a Sparp. So, I mean, from that perspective, it does make some sense. Oh, yeah. And then Colson Montgomery, Steven Matz as a Sparp, went to Chris, Seth Lugo, Connor Griffin. There we go. Pick 250.
Yeah.
And then Scott's like Pete Fairbanks.
Yeah, I wait to fill one of my relief pitcher spots with my last pick, and it's Pete Fairbanks. I'm not going to complain about that.
Matz is another late round flyer who just has a pretty good schedule to open the season. It looks like it's going to be at St. Louis, at the Twins, versus the Yankees, but then at the White Sox. It's 3 good matchups in his first 4 to see if there's anything there with Steven Matz.
Yep.
On the subject of Fuentes being a Sparp, that's certainly possible.
You need to get 10, though.
10 relief appearances, even in season, to pick up relief pitcher eligibility. Mm-hmm. So that means he's going to have to stay in that role for
probably a couple months.
Maybe not a couple full months, but they're talking about sending him down after the stretch of 13. I think they play on 13 straight days early in the season to begin stretching him out at AAA. So I'm skeptical he's going to get the 10 relief appearances he needs to pick up eligibility there.
Did Spencer Strider get there that 1 year?
I think he was a Sparp at one point.
He was a Sparp, but I think it was just because he appeared more as a reliever than a starter in his first partial season. So
yeah, he made 2 appearances as a reliever in 2021. He made 11 in 2022, so he would have gotten to eligibility there. But he threw 130 innings that season. What did he throw in 2021? Now, he threw 96 innings, it looks like. That's the thing with Fuentes only threw 70 innings last season. And he's not even 21 yet. He's still very much working through the rest of his arsenal. It's like awesome fastball. I think he's thrown like 3 different types of breaking ball this spring, and there's a splitter he's been working on. I'm excited, or at least I'm interested to see what it looks like, but my expectations for Didier Fuentes are that he's just not going to make much of an impact for the MLB team, at least in the first half of the season.
Mm-hmm. Last pick of this draft was Griffin Jacks there, so someone needed to fill a relief pitcher spot. And let's wrap up, man. Here we go. Hour 45. Head-to-head points leagues, they go a lot quicker than the other ones that we do. We will start with Scott and work our way backwards here. And Scotty was picking 11th in this one. Taking a look at the offense, you got Samuel Basayo, Josh Naylor, Luke Keeschel, Kazuma Okamoto, Geraldo Perdomo, George Springer, Randy Arozarena, Jacob Marcy, and then Kyle Schwarber. So how do you feel about it? It's not the offense I'm used to seeing from a Scout White team.
No, but I like it. I think I got one that really excels in this format. I don't think. In some ways, I guess I was fortunate. I wasn't fortunate early in the draft, and that forced me to make some unconventional picks. That often happens when we do these podcast drafts because the drafters are so in line with our thinking that they just deny us what we want to do. But I think I was fortunate in that I was able to wait out Naylor to the maximum extent and Keishel to the maximum extent, and I got good values on Springer and Arozarena, I think, for the format. I did reach on Okamoto to make sure I got a third baseman that I felt good about. And if he doesn't work out, I got Kevin McGonigal on my bench, who hopefully is picking up third base eligibility and will be good himself, hopefully. So that is the weak spot, but I think I gave myself two really high upside options there that I think they're both going to be good. But if one isn't, then I can fall back on the other. And so even though I spent two of my first three picks, right, on pitchers in Garrett Crochet and Chris Sale, I feel really good about the offense I put together. I don't feel like there are any holes, and I think there's a ton of upside here still, particularly for this format.
And this pitching staff, man, it is a doozy. Garrett Crochet, Chris Sale, Gavin Williams, Emmett Sheehan, Chase Burns. Relievers, you got Pagan and Fairbanks. On the bench, Snell, Grant Holmes, Yasavage, Sasaki, and then Kevin McGonigal, as you mentioned. But man, to get two of your top five starting pitchers and then just fill it out with a bunch of hype guys, it's pretty good. Pretty awesome.
The only concern I have is you might only actually have 5 useful starting pitchers.
Yeah,
season.
I was thinking about that too.
You drafted 9 of them, but
yeah,
Snell's on the IL. Chase Burns is going to be limited. Savage is on the IL. Roki Sasaki exists.
Yeah, I'm not
like Grant Holmes is your number 5 right now.
No, I would probably start Burns over
Burns. Okay.
I mean, we'll look at the matchups, but
yeah,
we don't exactly know how the usage is gonna be for Burns at the start. And obviously, I don't know that they're going to be officially designated for the IL in time for the week 1 lineup block, but by week 2, Snell and Yasavage, and is there a third one?
I think it's just those two.
I think it's just those two, yeah. Snell and Yasavage will go on the IL, free up 2 IL spots. Maybe by that point, Sasaki will have made 2 bad starts because we do the extra long week 1 in this format. So I'll be able to stream guys freely by week 2, and I don't think pitching depth is something I'm going to be sweating so much. It helps in this format. The shallowness of this format, I think, incentivizes taking big swings, especially in the middle to late rounds. So I feel good about it. I feel really good about this team. Wasn't feeling so good in round 4, but I think I pulled it together.
Well, and let's say worst case scenario, you're like 1-4 at the end of April, right? That's worst case scenario.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Chase Burns should be unleashed by then. Trey Savage should be back by then. And Blake Snell might only be a couple of weeks away by that point. So it's also like you'll have time to make up for it. That's one of the nice things about a head-to-head points format is like if you don't have a great record, but you sneak into the playoffs, but you're really strong in the second half, you got just as good a chance to win the whole thing as anybody.
Let's take a look at Chris's team. He was drafting 8th overall in this one. You got William Contreras, Pete Alonso, Jose Altuve, Eugenio Suarez, CJ Abrams, Ronald Acuna, Fernando Tatis, the juniors, back-to-back juniors, Michael Harris, and Ron Herrera. Oh, yeah,
Michael Harris is not a junior, but he is a second.
He's you're right. You know what? I mean, this lineup is pretty loaded here. Yeah. I mean, you got some guys that, okay, maybe they're better in a roto league with like Abrams or Suarez, but
Harris too.
Harris by a lot.
Yeah, for where you got them though. I mean, it's your third outfielder, and Suarez I think you got in the 7th, and Abrams maybe in like the 10th or something crazy.
Yeah, and I've got Dalen Lyle and Chase DeLauder on my bench if Michael Harris is truly not useful in this format, which is possible. He certainly was for about 3.5 months last year. But I feel very good about that offense overall. I don't think there's any real weak. Like Harris is a weakness, but for a For a third outfielder, I think that's fine. And then Ivan Herrera, we'll see. But I think he should be a viable DH, even if he doesn't gain catcher eligibility.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting that and I asked you this earlier in the offseason, like, would you be okay with him as your utility bat? And, I mean, here you are. Even if he gained catcher, you would never use him at catcher because you have William Contreras, who's one of the best. But Herrera might be that good of a hitter that it might not matter.
I mean, I think he was better on a per-game basis than Contreras last year.
Here's a weird thought about the kind of weird thoughts we've had to have because of catcher being so incredibly loaded this year. You took Herrera when Agustin Ramirez was still on the board. I'm sure we all rank Ramirez higher than Herrera. Obviously, that has to do with the catcher eligibility, and we're not stressed about filling catcher in this league because only 12 catchers are going to draft it. I think 13 technically did, but plenty to go around. Ramirez, we're expecting to be a true everyday player because of how much DH he'll play. Same as Herrera. Did you have any thought? I mean, it sounds ridiculous.
I thought about Ramirez as a DH, but I just think Herrera's a better player.
That's fair.
In a points league, especially if Herrera was catcher eligible to start the season, I think I'd rank him higher than Ramirez.
I almost wonder if we play this trick, because I had the same feeling, by the way. Like, Herrera's my DH, perfectly fine. Agustin Ramirez is my DH. Stupid. But I wonder if we're playing this trick on ourselves, where if the eligibility was reversed, Herrera was catcher eligible and Ramirez was DH only, if we interpret them the opposite way.
I think in a proto league, Ramirez would still seem like a viable util only. Yeah. I think it's because his game feels more geared towards roto, even though it's not necessarily, because the stolen bases still matter for points. He doesn't strike out very much. He's going to play every day. I think he could be a really good run producer because he's going to probably hit in the middle of that lineup. So, yeah, I think that there is a perception around Agustin Ramirez that is probably underrating him as a hitter, especially there's room to take a step forward as well. So, he was pretty bad in the second half as a hitter, and it was easy to overlook because I think he stole 15 bases after the All-Star break or something. But I do expect Ramirez to be a better hitter this season than he was last year. I think there's plenty of meat left on the bone there.
Your pitching staff, Chris, you have Hunter Brown and Kyle Bradish at the top, followed by Brandon Woodruff, Jacob Misiorowski, and Mick Abel. You have two Sparps in here, Cody Ponce and Reed Detmers. On the bench, Carlos Rodon, who you can stash till he's back. Then Randy Vasquez, Steven Matz, another Sparp, Dalen Lyle, and Chase DeLauder. Chase DeLauder just hit another home run, by the way. Not kidding.
Was that one 450 feet?
No, it was only 387. So
okay.
Kind of cheapy there for Chase DeLauder. But, Chris, how do you feel about this pitching staff?
I think it's fine. I don't think it's much more than fine, but I think it's good enough, especially if Bradish is as good as we think he is. Brown is more like a low-end ace, but I think he is a top 12 starter. So I think it's fine. I wish I felt more confident in my 3, 4, and 5. If I get 1.5 good seasons out of Mick Abel, Brandon Woodruff, and Jacob Misiorowski, I think I'd be pretty happy with that. But that means there will be some times when I have to mix and match throughout the season. So it's a very good offense, but you pay for it on the pitching side by taking like William Contreras when, as I said at the top of the draft, I don't want to take a catcher early, and then William Contreras falls 30 picks beyond where I have him ranked, and it's like, well, okay, I have to take him.
That's every one-catcher league always.
Yeah. Would the team look better if I don't know who was taken around that point. I think it was the 6th round. If I had taken...
Yeah, you took William Contreras, then James Wood, Corey Seager, Duran, Yelich.
If I had taken Dylan Cease, and I had Dylan Cease as my number 3 SP and Drake Baldwin as my starting catcher instead of, Contreras and Mick Abel.
Yeah,
I think
like that more.
Yeah, probably. But William Contreras could also drop a 500-point season pretty easily and be a huge difference maker.
Mm-hmm. Taking a look at my team, I was drafting first overall in this one. I've got Agustin Ramirez, followed by Yandy Diaz, Jazz Chisholm, Austin Riley, Trey Turner. In the outfield, Aaron Judge, Roman Anthony, and Brendan Nimmo. And then Trevor Story is my utility bat. So, look, the hitting is awesome.
Yeah, it's great.
I hate my pitchers. So,
How are you going to hit your pitchers?
As we're going to get to in just a second here.
Yeah.
The hitting looks better.
Yeah.
Because it's a points league. Well, in some ways not. I guess Chisholm and Riley are worse than Roto, but Diaz, obviously, slam dunk starter in this format.
Nimmo's a great points league player. Roman Anthony should be borderline elite. Yeah.
I just took Story in like round 15 or whatever.
Yeah, as your utility.
Yeah.
Like, if you're going to go weak at any of those 9-hitter spots, utility, because there are for sure going to be worthy starters emerging off the waiver wire that if you don't have to be particular about position, you're going to be fine there.
Mm-hmm. On the pitching side of things, I've got Jacob deGrom as my 1, followed by Nick Pivetta, Bubba Chandler, Nick Lodolo, Robbie Ray. I've got 2 Sparps in there, Braxton Ashcraft and Anthony Kay. On the bench, lots of hurt pitchers here. I've got Garrett Cole, Joe Musgrove, Simeon Woods Richardson, Brandon Sproat, Connolly Early. So I don't love it. I do not like it.
I don't love it either, but you can work with it. This league's shallow enough.
And there's a chance we get to May and Connolly Early is a top 36 starting pitcher. And I really think Garrett Cole could just end up being one of the steals of the season. Like all the reports about his bullpens so far have been great. His spring debut, I think his velocity was up a mile per hour.
It was only 1 inning pitches, but yeah, it was up. Yeah.
But it was also up in his bullpen sessions. So that we've heard of at least. So I kind of think he's going to be back like early in May, and there's definitely probably going to be some growing pains, but it's also like, remember the year Justin Verlander came back from Tommy John surgery? He won Cy Young.
Yeah, 175 ERA.
Things might be different for guys in their 30s coming back from Tommy John surgery. They know themselves a lot better.
And you've always said, Chris, there's kind of this curve with Hall of Fame level players, right, where they kind of age differently than everyone else. So, yeah, we'll see. I mean, this is the second league I've drafted Garrett Cole in, and around where he went, as SP 50 or something like that. I'm fine taking a shot on him at that point. Looking back on it, when I was talking about taking pitchers, Sanchez at the 2-3 turn or Framber Valdez at the 4-5 with deGrom, I would just, the way I like to build my teams is get 2 of those top 20 starting pitchers. And then it's kind of like a mental thing where I feel better about the team. It might not actually be better, but it just makes me feel warm and fuzzy about the team going into the season. And Nick Lodolo, hope his finger's okay, right? Like that's another kind of risk factor.
Yeah.
So I love the pitcher. I do not love the blister. So we'll see what happens there.
Never loved the blister before.
No, do not love that. All right, here we are. That was our final live draft of the season. We will do an express as well, talking about some of the news. So make sure to check that out. We are going to wrap there. For Scott and Chris, I am Frank. Thanks as always for tuning in to Fantasy Baseball today. Please make sure to follow and leave a 5-star rating on Apple or Spotify. And we will be back again tomorrow. Bye-bye.